Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name is Josh, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the Wells Fargo Attune World Elite MasterCard. So I'll be going over the main features of this card, its pros as well as its drawbacks. So hopefully by the end of this video you'll have a much better idea of whether or not this credit card is a good fit for you. But before we go ahead and dive into the main features of this card, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like. That just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $200 in free stock in a pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Robinhood. All you have to do is once you click on that link is just sign up for a free account and then simply link your bank account. You do not even have to make an opening deposit. At that point in time, Robinhood will be sending you one free stock worth all the way up to $200. Okay, so diving right into the main features of this credit card. First off, we're going to be discussing cash back and how you can earn it with this card. So you will be receiving 4% cash back on self-care, so think spas, fitness centers, gyms, etc. You'll also be earning 4% cash back on select sports, recreation, and entertainment, gardening and floral stores, as well as pet supplies, boarding, and grooming. Finally, you'll also be earning 4% cash back on impactful purchases, so like taking public transportation, charging your EV vehicle, or shopping at select thrift stores. And then finally, on all other transactions, you will be earning 1% cash back. Now with this credit card, there's also going to be a spend bonus as well. So as long as you're able to spend at least $500 within the first 3 months of having this credit card, you will be receiving a spend bonus of $100. Plus, on top of that, if you do reach the spend bonus, Wells Fargo will donate $50 to Capital Link, which is a national nonprofit organization, once again, once you receive the $100 spend bonus. Now with this card, there's going to be some other benefits as well. So just for instance, you will be receiving a 0% introductory APR on your purchases for the first 12 months. So let's say for instance, you have a lot of larger transactions coming up, and perhaps you don't have the cash set aside right now to pay them off right away. Well, for the first 12 months, you will not be paying any interest, so you can slowly pay that balance down over the first 12 months of having this credit card. However, you'll definitely want to make sure that that balance is paid off in full before the 12 months in, because after that, your APR is going to kick back up. And at that point in time, you could be in a situation where you owe a lot of interest on your card on a month-to-month basis. So I would definitely recommend trying to pay that balance down as quickly as you can. We are going to dive into the APR in just a bit though. Now, as far as some other perks with this credit card go, you're also going to be receiving $600 of cell phone protection per claim against damage, theft, and unintended separation. When you pay for your monthly phone bill with this card, there is going to be a $25 deductible, so you'll have to keep that in mind. You're also going to be receiving MasterCard ID theft protection. You'll also have zero liability protection, so if someone steals your credit card, either the physical card or the card number, and they go in person or online and spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars in transactions that you did not authorize, you will not be held liable to pay for those transactions because you did not authorize them. And then finally, you're also going to be receiving auto rental collision damage waiver as well. So that's going to reimburse you for covered damage or theft as long as you use this card to pay for your rental car and decline their insurance at the counter. So now that we went over the main features of this card at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and dive into the APR and fees. But of course, this is also super important as well. So starting out, once again, on your purchases, you are going to have the 0% introductory APR for the first 12 months. Once again, this could be hugely beneficial for those of you that have a lot of larger, unexpected transactions coming up that you absolutely have to pay for and cannot put off. But like I said, once again, you'll want to make sure that that balance is paid off in full as quickly as you can, because after the 12 months are up, at that point in time, your APR is then going to shoot up to anywhere between 20.24, 25.24, or 29.99% based on your credit worthiness. Then as far as balance transfers go, starting out on balance transfers, you are not going to be offered that introductory APR of 0%. Instead, you are going to have an interest rate on them. So in that case, it's really not going to make too much sense to perform a balance transfer, at least starting out. Perhaps later down the line, Wells Fargo might offer you something with the balance transfers like a 0% offer for a certain period of time, whether that's 12, 15, or 18 months. But starting out, at least, your balance transfer APR is going to be either 20.24, 25.24, or 29.99% based on your credit worthiness. Then as far as cash advances go, on this channel we usually recommend to stay far away from cash advances. This of course should not be considered financial advice, just my own personal reasons. Usually with them you have a very high interest rate, plus you do have to pay a lot of fees as well. But if you do decide to take out a cash advance with this card, just know that your APR on them is going to be a whopping 29.99%, plus a lot of fees as well, which we are going to go ahead and dive into right now. So as far as the fees go on your cash advances, your fee is either going to be $10 or 5% of the amount of each cash advance, whichever happens to be greater. Then as far as balance transfers go, even though like I mentioned, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense to perform a balance transfer, at least right out of the gate, because you're not offered like a 0% introductory APR on them. If, let's say, later down the line you are offered something like 0% for, let's say, like 12 months, and you decide to take advantage of that offer and you transfer a balance from one credit card where you have a very high balance and you're paying a lot of interest on it on a month-to-month basis over to this card, you're still going to have to pay a fee for that balance transfer. That fee is either going to be $5 or 3%, whichever is greater, for 120 days from your account opening. If you do the balance transfer within 120 days from your account opening, then after 120 days, that's going to shoot up to either 5% with a minimum of $5. Then as far as foreign transaction fees with this card go, you will have to pay a foreign transaction fee of 3%. So if you happen to travel abroad, this is a credit card you'll probably want to leave back at home, because it really doesn't make sense to pay a foreign transaction fee of 3% when there are so many other credit cards out there that do not have foreign transaction fees. Now, interestingly enough, this credit card is one of the few out there that do not have a late payment fee. However, this is not something where you should just go out and start intentionally paying late, because remember, if you pay late, then you, at that point in time, you're going to also have to pay interest on whatever balance you're paying late on. So definitely still make sure to pay on time. It's very weird that they don't have a late payment fee, given that most credit card companies do have some type of late payment fee, usually up to $40, but don't use this as like an incentive, obviously, to start paying late, because then of course you're also going to be paying interest on your credit card. And then finally, as far as the annual fee goes, thankfully with this credit card, there are no annual fees. This is definitely a pretty good benefit because you can keep this credit card on a year-to-year basis, and you don't have to consider whether or not you're getting enough benefits back to make paying an annual fee worth it, because once again, there are no annual fees. So now that we went over the main features of this card as well as the APR and fees, at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and dive into what I would consider to be the best things about this credit card and the worst things about this credit card. So we're going to start out with the good things. The first good thing, of course, is the fact that you're going to be earning 4% cash back in a lot of categories. Now, given the fact that a lot of these categories could be considered obscure, a lot of people may not use their credit cards in these categories. It may not be worth it for a lot of people, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of people who might use these credit cards in a lot of these categories, and they're really going to be getting a great bang for their buck in these categories. So starting out, once again, it's going to be 4% cash back at gyms, fitness centers, EV charging stations, public transportation, select thrift stores, pet supplies, grooming, etc. Then another pro of this credit card is the fact that you're going to have a 0% introductory APR on your purchases for the first 12 months as a pretty good benefit as well. You're also going to be receiving a $100 spend bonus as long as you're able to spend at least $500 within the first 3 months of having this credit card. That's going to be a very easy spend bonus to achieve. And then finally, with this card, there are no annual fees, so it's definitely a pretty good advantage as well. So those are the best things about this credit card. As far as the drawbacks go, the first drawback is the fact that in all categories outside of those 4% categories, so think like on gas, groceries, things like that, you are only going to be earning 1% cash back. So there's a good chance that a large chunk of your spending, you're actually only going to be earning 1% of cash back in. Then on top of that, even though you are going to be earning a $100 spend bonus, there are many other credit cards out there that double that, at least a $200 spend bonus. So $100 isn't necessarily all that great. And then finally, with this credit card, it's one you'll want to leave back at home if you do happen to travel abroad, because there is a 3% foreign transaction fee. And that's obviously a drawback, because if you travel to a country like Europe, that offers a lot of public transportation, good public transportation, well, you're going to be missing out on that 4% cashback category that is public transportation. So unless you live like in a bigger city and you use public transportation a lot, you're going to be missing out on the 4% cashback. Unless you have an electric vehicle and you get the EV charging station 4% cashback, you're going to be missing out on that because you're not going to be getting the 4% cashback on gas. On gas, you're only going to be getting 1% cashback. Interestingly enough, now if you spend a lot on pet supplies, this credit card could definitely make a lot of sense for you, given that you're going to be getting 4% cashback on pet supplies. If you like to go to a lot of concerts or entertainment, it could make sense for you. But for everyone else, if you don't have an electric vehicle, if you don't live in a larger city and spend a lot of money on public transportation, if you don't have pets and spend a lot of money on pet supplies, and you're not really spending in these 4% cashback categories, then it's probably not going to make a lot of sense for you because you're only going to be earning 1% cashback. But for those of you that do live in a bigger city and take advantage of the public transportation, and perhaps you have an electric car and use EV charging stations, or have pets and spend maybe hundreds of dollars each and every month on pet supplies, in your case, this credit card could make a lot of sense for you, but ultimately, at the end of the day, that's going to be completely up to you. But that's all we have for today's review. I certainly hope you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate it if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.